Welcome to the fascinating world of theatre. In the previous episode, we discussed about the Sanskrit theatre origin and about Natya Shastra and Bhas. In this episode, we will discuss about the playwrights of Kalidas, Shudraka and elements of Sanskrit theatre. Sanskrit theatre is an inseparable part of Indian theatre. It also draws heavily from the Sanskrit literary tradition. The early Sanskrit theatrical plays were based on pre-existing mythological or historical themes that were familiar to the audience of the age. The nature of the plays ranged from tragedy to the light comedy. Sanskrit theatre played an essential role in the development of Indian theatre. Now, let us see the role of Kalidas in Sanskrit theatre. Kalidas is universally regarded not only as the greatest of the Sanskrit dramatists, but as one of the greatest Sanskrit poets. In a few lyric poems and 3 plays, Kalidas' extant work represents the height of artistry in classical Sanskrit poetry and dramatics. Nevertheless, Kalidas' dates are difficult to fix, given historical references in his own work and in the work of others that seems to refer to him. Scholars speculate that Kalidas wrote sometime between the 3rd and the 6th centuries CE. It is thought by some that the identification of King Vikramaditya as the poet's patron in the prologue of Shakuntala refers to Chandragupta II, which would locate Kalidas in the Gupta Empire near the end of the 4th century CE. Aside from circumstantial evidence and speculation, we have only a body of legends to account for Kalidas' life and work. Some of these stories characterize the young Kalidas as an illiterate bumpkin who is transformed into a poetic genius through a combination of court intrigue and his own deep devotion to the goddess Kali. On the other hand, nothing in Kalidas' own work suggests an attachment to Kali. Instead, he seems to have been a Shaivite or devotee of Shiva, whose presence and person permeate the poems and plays. Kalidas' work reveals an attachment, even if fanciful, to the region and city of Ujjaini, which is associated with contemporary Ujjain in the western part of Madhya Pradesh. Kalidas' work falls into the following categories. The group 1, poems. First is Kumara Sambhav. Second is Raghuvamsha. Third is Meghaduta. Group 2, that were plays. The first is Malavika Ganimitra, that is Malvika and Agnimitra. Second is Vikramur Vashya, that is Urvashi won by Vellore. Third is Abhijinana Shakuntala, the remembrance of Shakuntala. Kalidas' play exhibit familiarity with the world of pre-modern India and an insider's understanding of court life. The poet brings a canonade of Indian myth and lore to bear on the plots of his plays, the stories of which move between palaces, cities, wilderness, the sky and the abodes of gods. He also seems to know how palaces and royalty operate. Each of the 3 plays revolves around a king, and the action of each play is complicated by court maneuvers among government officials and among the king's own household. Each play's dramatization of the problems that arise from a king's interaction at home with his royal routine and outside the palace with mortals and divine beings examines the conflict between duty and desire, a theme that permeates Indian literature from Vedic times. In each case, Kalidas returns his king to his royal duty, not merely resigned to it, but recommitted to it by his excursion away from it. Similarly, each play concerns a woman who seems to exist outside of the proper courtly circles, either literally, as in the case of Shakuntala, who lives in a forest hermitage, or practically, as in the case of Malvika in Malavika Ganimitra, who lives in the palace as part of the queen's retinue, but is thought to be of second-class status. The king's romantic interest in each play then appears to be in conflict with his royal identity and responsibility. However, each woman turns out to be of royal or divine identity. Kalidas plays chart their kings courses in a circle back to identifies that are really unchanging but which might be better understood after the action of the plays has been accomplished. Shudraka. Almost all we know of the Sanskrit dramatist Shudraka is expressed in the prologue of his one surviving play. According to the prologue of his own play, Shudrak was educated, courageous, ethical, a king, a scholar, an ascetic and a warrior. And when he turned 100 years old, he killed himself. With Shudrak on his own sacrificial pyre, was might will wonder who was left to compose Mrichkatika's prologue in his name. Indeed, we really only have question about Shudrak. We don't know where he lived. We don't know when he wrote. We even don't know his profession. Apart from writing this play, we don't know his education. All we really know is that a well-written play has survived from the period of classical Sanskrit drama and it's attributed to someone named Shudrak. On the other hand, the play suggests much about its author. Author was certainly educated enough to write in Sanskrit in several varieties of Prakrit, and he seems to have known people very well. Characters in the play are remarkably fashioned, suggesting the author familiarity with regular middle class people as opposed to the mythic figures featured in other Sanskrit dramas. Furthermore, Mrichkatika has what we could call today a distinctly populist tone. When we first meet the play's protagonist, he laments not his poverty, but the sad nature of humanity, that friends disappear when a person loses his money. The cynicism concerning wealth and social status persists throughout the play. In the culminating act, the protagonist is nearly executed because the word of a slave is not accepted. Eventually, the executioners let the protagonist go in the hopes that his freedom will signal the triumph of the lower caste. The king is regarded throughout as corrupt, and the king's brother-in-law appear as a mean, spiteful, dishonest wretch. The protagonist's triumph in the end accompanies a bloody revolution in the kingdom which finds a goat herd acceding to the throne. Perhaps it means nothing, but given the tone of Shudrak's one play, it may be more than a coincidence that the playwright name is a diminutive form of the word Shudra, which refers to the group of people who occupied the lower strata of the social hierarchy in classical India. The Sanskrit Prologue. In production performances were preceded by elaborate preliminary rituals collectively known as Purvaranga. The one element of these rites commonly documented by the play scripts themselves is the Nandi. Opening prayer consisting of several lines of verse that acknowledge divine authority over the space and time of the production. Most often, Shiva is the subject of the Nandi. The first piece of text in most Sanskrit plays then is the Nandi. What generally follows the Nandi is a dramatic prologue involving a short conversation between the production's director and an actor or other member of the performing troupe. These brief conversations serve to introduce the title and author of the play and may also preview the major themes of the play to follow. Past prologues tend to be very brief and formulaic. As an example, the prologue of his play Karnabhram consists entirely of the following. The prologues of Kalidas, on the other hand, tend to be more elaborate and thematic. In the prologue to Shakuntala, the director calls an actress to the stage to sing an introductory song for the performance. The song is so lovely that by the time the actress has finished, the director has forgotten what play the troupe is to present. The prologue here previews the theme of memory and reminders that move the play. As a device, the prologue of Sanskrit dramas provides an interface between the audience and the play. In the brief prologue from Bhas, Karnabharam included above, the stage manager speaks directly to the assembled audience and then hears Duryodhana's messenger speaking from an area behind the stage. For the stage manager whose company is producing the performance, the audience to whom the stage manager speaks is a real audience. For the stage manager who is a character in the Bhas play, Duryodhana's messenger is real. The stage manager then occupies a space in between the world of the audience and the world of the play, and he brings the two worlds together in the way he interacts with the audience and play. We might say that the stage manager in the prologue of Sanskrit drama serves to facilitate the audience transition from their real world into the pretend world of the performance. Perhaps the stage manager helps audience suspend their disbelief so as to engage more fully with the world of the play. Elements of Sanskrit theatre. Sanskrit drama was divided into Rupakas and Uprupakas. Rupakas are the 10 major forms and Uprupakas are the minor forms. The Rupakas comprise Natak, Samavakam, Vyayuga, Dima, Hamriga, Uttritimaka, Prakarna, Prahasna, Bhana and Vithi. Their plots were broadly classified as those known from tradition, which the playwright derived from myths, legends and history, or as those newly created by his imagination. The former category included Nataks, Samavakra, Vyayogya, Dima and Hamriga. In the later figured Prakarna, Prahasana and Bhana. Uttrikamaka sometimes was sourced from tradition, sometimes from invention. Vithi was a class in itself and many forms took elements from it. Sanskrit theatre stressed the delineation or portrayal of bhav, that is, emotive state. Performers evoked to the audience these bhavas, which through powerful abhinay or acting were transformed into the ideal central aesthetic experience of ras. The Natya Shastra also laid down the two modes of theatrical representation. The first, Lokadharmi, was nearer to the way things are seen in ordinary life. The second is Natyadharmi, was more conventional. However, a dialogue between them always existed. They were not completely opposite modes, but shared some complementaries. Lokadharmi may be seen as having survived in innumerable Indian folk forms, whereas Natyadharmi is viewed in classical dance or dance drama. The linguistic structure of Sanskrit drama is very significant, as well as the highly refined theory of dharmani or literary suggestion. From the very beginning, its multilingualism provided a unique theatricality. The simultaneous presence of Sanskrit, the commoners Prakrit, and even Apabharamsa infused textual strength. This feature survives in Kutiyattam, where the Vidushak elaborates his Prakrit dialogue into Malayalam, which is a modern Indian language. Music was an integral part of theatre. This became prominent in order to provide pleasure in the recitation of the text. Bharat, Kalidas and some later dramatists speak of the employment of dhruv songs. Certainly, musical integration began with the introduction or song and atodhya or music. This served not only to determine the pace and rhythm of movement, get, exits and entrances, but also to incorporate lasingas into the play. The change in Sanskrit theatre from rupakas to uprupakas is marked by the increasing use of music. The tendency was already present in the period of Kalidas and Harivamsa and gathered momentum with the passage of time. Music became more essential and uprupakas were often called sangitakas, that is, song works. Dance too acquired a more dominant place in the dramatic and theatrical structure. References in Abhinavagupta's, Abhinavbharati, Sarabdatyanas, Bhavaparaksnas and other texts verify this conclusion. The connection between folk forms and Sanskrit performance is also old. The detailed stage direction in Kalidas Vikramurvasya's, that is, Urvasi won by Vellore, was a unique play from this point of view. This reveals extensive employment of music and dance in production. Many of the terms are not traceable either to the Natya Shastra or later treatises. They appear to have been taken from the popular theatre of the early medieval age and prove that Kalidas script had an unbroken tradition of performance up to that period. So, while concluding, Sanskrit theatre was holistic, consisting of a highly evolved text, pre-written as well as orally circulating among the community of artists. The rediscovery of the Natya Shastra and Bhas excited scholars and artists in Sanskrit dramatic performance. Nearly extinct in the 20th century, the search for an identity in Indian theatre after independence also resulted in a serious inquiry into both traditional forms and classical Sanskrit sources. So, this is all about Sanskrit theatre, Sanskrit playwrights. Have a nice day. Thank you.